The first time Clara Bellini spent the night in my apartment, she told me it was because the electricity in hers had died. That was true. It was just not the most honest part of the story. She knocked at 11:47 p.m., which I only remember because I had been staring at the clock on my oven, trying to decide whether tea at that hour counted as self-care or surrender. The apartment was quiet, in the way mine only became when I had finally stopped pretending I was going to do anything useful. No camera on the table, no files open, no woman on my screen waiting to be turned into a secret. Just a half-empty mug, a plate with 2 slices of bread I had burned because I kept thinking about nothing too carefully, and the soft yellow lamp beside the couch, making the whole room look kinder than it had any right to be. I was barefoot. My hair was tied badly at the back of my head. I was wearing the white shirt I slept in when I wanted to feel like I had no appointments, no name, no reputation. No one expecting Dahlia Voss to walk into a room and know exactly where to stand. Then someone knocked. Not hard, not like an emergency. More like whoever was on the other side had talked herself out of knocking 3 times, failed, and was now trying not to regret the 4th. I looked toward the door. The building had its own language at night. Pipes coughing, someone's television murmuring 2 floors down, the old elevator complaining whenever it moved, which was not often because most of us had learned not to trust it after 10. This knock did not belong to the building. It belonged to a person who did not want to be a problem. That made it more dangerous. I went to the door and looked through the peephole. Clara Bellini stood in the hallway with her phone in one hand, a tote bag slipping down her shoulder, and the expression of a woman who had rehearsed a simple sentence and then forgotten every word of it. Clara lived in the apartment next to mine, 3B. I was 3A. We had shared a wall for almost a year and a half, which is an intimate thing, even when you pretend it isn't. I knew she listened to old radio dramas on Sunday mornings. She knew, probably, that I dropped a spoon into the sink every night as if I were trying to murder it. I opened the door. Clara blinked at me. "Hi," she said. "Hi. I'm sorry." "That's a strong opening." She looked down at herself as if checking whether the apology was visible somewhere on her cardigan. My power went out. I leaned one shoulder against the doorframe. "Only yours?" "I think so." "So the building has chosen you personally." "That does feel consistent with my week." She tried to smile. It came out tired. Clara was 32, maybe 33. Book editor, freelance translator, occasional carrier of very heavy grocery bags she insisted were fine, even when one of them was clearly trying to dislocate her wrist. I knew this because the hallway had made us familiar in fragments. A good morning near the mailboxes. A shared complaint about the elevator. One time I had helped her carry 6 bottles of sparkling water upstairs because she had said, "I am independent, not stupid," and handed me 2 without waiting for permission. She had dark blonde hair that never looked styled but always looked considered, like she had argued with it and reached a truce. Tonight, it was twisted into a loose knot, pieces falling around her face. Her cardigan was pale gray, worn over a thin black tank top and soft cotton trousers. Not pajamas exactly, not clothes she had planned to be seen in either. Her phone screen lit her fingers from below. "Everything cut out," she said. "The lights, the sockets, the fridge. I tried the breaker, but it keeps tripping. I messaged the landlord. He said an electrician can come in the morning." "In the morning," I repeated. "Yes." Comforting. Very. Especially because my phone is at 9% and I have a deadline at 10 tomorrow. I looked at the phone, then at her tote bag. There was a laptop in it, a charger cable, a paperback sticking out from the side, a toothbrush badly hidden because the universe enjoys small humiliations. Clara noticed me noticing. Her cheeks changed color. I didn't know what to bring, she said too quickly. I panicked like someone evacuating a village. Did you knock on anyone else's door? She hesitated. There it was. A tiny silence, no longer than a breath, but enough. No, she said. Why not? You were awake. How did you know that? Her gaze flicked past my shoulder into the apartment. The lamp, the mug, the soft mess of my living room. Your kitchen light was on. From your apartment? From the balcony. So you were looking at my windows. I was checking if anyone was awake. Anyone? She pressed her lips together. The hallway light hummed above us. It always did that when it was about to die, which had been happening slowly since March. Clara looked embarrassed, cold, and stubbornly dignified in a way that made me want to laugh and be careful with her at the same time. I opened the door wider. Come in before the building decides to take the hallway next. She stepped inside, not far at first, just over the threshold. Some people enter a room like they are owed space. Clara did not. She stood near the rug, holding her phone and tote like evidence, and looked around with a restraint that was almost worse than staring. My apartment was not dramatic. People imagine photographers live in rooms full of black walls, film reels, women's silhouettes, and expensive lamps. Mine had chipped blue tiles in the kitchen, 2 plants I had not killed yet, a couch too soft to respect the spine, and a bookshelf that had lost its organizing principle sometime in the previous winter. There were framed prints on the wall, yes, but not the kind clients expected. A blurry street in Naples, my mother's hands holding cherries. A woman's back in a train station, face turned away. Not beautiful because she was posed, beautiful because she didn't know anyone was seeing her. Clara looked at that one longest. I plugged her phone into the charger beside the counter. Tea? I asked. No, I don't want to. Clara. She stopped. It's water and leaves, not a kidney. A laugh escaped her before she could tidy it up. Tea would be nice. Good, sit. She did not sit. Of course she didn't. She hovered near the back of the couch while I filled the kettle. She watched me move around my own kitchen, and I became more aware of my bare legs under the shirt than I wanted to be. That irritated me. Not because she looked, because she tried not to. Clara Bellini had been trying not to look at me for months. In the hallway, she always did it politely. Her eyes would catch on my mouth, my hands, the open collar of a shirt, the camera strap across my shoulder, and then she would glance away with the innocent discipline of a woman who edited sentences for a living and thought desire could be handled with punctuation. I had noticed. I noticed things for a living. That was not the same as doing anything about them. Milk? I asked. No, thank you. Sugar? No. Judgmental? I didn't say anything. You didn't have to. She finally sat on the edge of the couch, still holding the tote bag. I put 2 mugs on the coffee table and took the armchair across from her. It was a deliberate choice. Distance, hospitality. Proof that I could let a woman into my apartment at midnight and not make it immediately complicated. Clara wrapped both hands around the mug. The room settled. Outside, a scooter went by in the street below, then faded. Somewhere, a dog barked once and reconsidered. Did the landlord say what happened? I asked. He said maybe the wiring in my kitchen is overloaded. What did you plug in? A lamp? That's reckless. And the kettle. Ah, the gateway appliance. And maybe the space heater. Clara. It was cold. That wiring is older than both of us. I know that now. She looked down into her tea, smiling despite herself. For a few minutes, the conversation stayed where safe conversations stay. The building, the landlord, the woman on the second floor who left passive-aggressive notes in the lobby about recycling, the elevator, the fact that the hallway light still had not been repaired because apparently it needed a permit from God. Then the quiet came back. Not awkward, not comfortable either. Something in between. The kind of quiet that waits to see who will lie first. Clara lifted her mug. "Your apartment is warmer than I expected." I raised an eyebrow. "What did you expect?" "I don't know, something more severe." "Severe? You have a reputation." "With the neighbors?" "With the building." I leaned back. "This I need to hear." She looked immediately regretful. "No," I said, "you started it." "It's not bad." "That depends entirely on the details." She took another sip, buying time. "People notice you." That sounds like something said before a trial. "They notice when you come home late. The shoes, the coats, the women sometimes." I kept my face neutral. Clara's fingers tightened around the mug. "I don't mean that in a judgmental way." "I didn't think you did. I just meant—" She stopped and looked at the window. "You seem like someone with a very full life." A very full life. That was one way to describe it. Another was a life crowded with rooms I could leave before anyone got too close to the part of me that came home and burned bread at midnight. "And you?" I asked. She gave me a small, dry smile. "I correct other people's metaphors for money." That sounds erotic. It is mostly invoices and neck pain. Tragic. Very. She relaxed a little then. Not much. Just enough to lean back into the couch instead of perching on it like a guest waiting to be dismissed. I liked her voice. That was not new information. I had liked it since the first time I heard her on the phone in the stairwell, calmly telling a publisher that no, the author could not use feral silence 7 times in one chapter unless he wanted the reader to start laughing. "I thought you worked mornings," I said. "I do. And nights. I also do that." "Healthy," says the woman drinking black tea at midnight. "It's herbal." She glanced at my mug. "Is it?" "No." A proper laugh this time. It warmed the room more efficiently than the radiator. I looked away first. Not because I was embarrassed, because I knew myself. The private version of me was more dangerous than the public one. Public Dahlia had tools, distance, light, poses, a reason to touch someone's wrist or tilt their chin or step closer and call it composition. Private Dahlia had a couch, 2 mugs of tea, and a woman next door looking at me like she had finally stepped into a place she had imagined too many times. That was much harder to control. Clara's phone lit up on the counter. She stood quickly. "Sorry." I watched her read the message. Her expression did not improve. "Landlord?" I asked. She nodded. "Electrician at 8:30. "In the morning." "Yes." "What are you going to do until then?" She put the phone down. "I'll figure it out." I looked at her tote bag again. The toothbrush, the laptop, the paperback. The very unconvincing lie of a woman who had already figured it out and was hoping I would say it first. "You can sleep here." She turned back too quickly. "No." That was fast. "I can't." "Because my couch is morally questionable?" "Because it's too much." "It's a couch, Clara." "It's your couch." "That is generally how furniture works." She gave me a look. "You know what I mean." I did. That was the problem. I stood and took my mug to the sink, mostly to give my hands something ordinary to do. "You can sleep here," I said again, quieter. "On the couch." Nothing else has to happen. You don't have to turn this into a debt. I know. She closed her mouth. The sincerity unsettled her more than the teasing had. Good. Sometimes teasing lets people hide too easily. I took a folded blanket from the basket beside the bookshelf and placed it on the couch. Dark green, soft, a little worn at one corner. Clara touched the edge of it. You keep guest blankets? I keep blankets. Occasionally, guests benefit from them. I'm not usually this helpless. I didn't think you were. That's worse. How? Now I can't even defend myself properly. I smiled. You can try in the morning. She looked at me then, really looked. There was tiredness in her eyes, yes, but something else under it. Something braver now that the first refusal had failed. Dahlia. My name sounded different in her mouth. Not like a neighbor saying it in passing, not like someone calling across the lobby. It had weight. I kept my voice even. Yes? I don't want you to think I planned this. The power outage? No. The toothbrush? Her face flushed again. I told you I panicked. With dental hygiene. I'm very committed to oral health. That will be noted. She rubbed a hand over her face, laughing under her breath. Then she looked down at the blanket. I didn't plan it, she said again. But I won't pretend I hated having a reason to knock. There. Not a confession. Not yet. But the door inside the door. I leaned against the kitchen counter. How long? She did not ask what I meant. That told me enough. A while, she said. I nodded once. The old building made a sound around us, a pipe knocking somewhere in the wall like it disapproved. Define a while. Dahlia. I'm an artist. I need specifics. You're insufferable. Yes. She looked at the floor, smiling despite the tension. Since the elevator broke in April. The elevator breaks every month. The time you carried my suitcase upstairs. I remembered. The suitcase had been red, too heavy, and missing one wheel. Clara had been wearing a cream blouse and had insisted 3 times that she had it under control, while clearly having nothing under control at all. I had taken the handle from her, carried it to the 3rd floor, and when she thanked me, she had looked at my hands for half a second too long. I remembered because I had thought about kissing her against her own door. Then I had gone into my apartment and made coffee instead, which said a great deal about my survival instincts. That was April? I asked. Yes. Long time to wait for an electrical failure. I was hoping for courage first. And? Apparently my fuse box is more decisive than I am. I laughed. She seemed relieved by it. I was not. Because I liked this version of her. Honest but not dramatic. Nervous but not helpless. Funny in a way that came from trying to keep herself standing. I liked that she had not arrived flawless. I liked that her cardigan had a loose thread near the sleeve. I liked that she watched my face carefully, not to flatter me, but to understand whether she had crossed a line. I liked, most dangerously, that she seemed to know this was a line. I noticed you too, I said. Her eyes lifted. For the record. She went still. I wondered. I know. You know? You're not subtle. I am extremely subtle. No, I said. You are polite. That's different. She absorbed that. Then she laughed softly, almost to herself. I knew it. What? That you would be impossible if I ever actually talked to you. You knocked on my door. My power went out. So you claim. She looked at me over the rim of her mug, and for the first time that night, something like flirtation arrived without apology. The fridge is off, Dahlia. I can show you the evidence if you want. I'm not sure I trust myself in a dark apartment with you and perishable dairy. She stared at me for one beat. Then she laughed so suddenly she had to put the mug down. It broke something. Not badly, not violently. It broke the careful little formal shape we had been standing inside all night. After that, Clara stayed, not in a dramatic way. She did not fall into my arms or announce a truth with trembling music underneath. She brushed her teeth in my bathroom with the door half closed because the latch stuck. She came out looking embarrassed by the intimacy of it, as if toothpaste had made the night more real than desire had. I gave her one of my old t-shirts to sleep in. She held it up. "It's clean," I said. I wasn't worried about that. "What were you worried about?" "That it will smell like you." I stopped. She looked like she had surprised herself. Then she folded the shirt against her chest. "I'll change in the bathroom," she said. "Good idea." My voice came out lower than I intended. She noticed. Of course, she noticed. While she changed, I put a glass of water beside the couch and moved a stack of books from the floor so she wouldn't break her neck if she got up in the dark. I did not think about her in my shirt. I did not think about the bathroom light behind the door. I did not think about the fact that my apartment, which had always felt slightly too quiet with only me in it, had started breathing differently because she was there. Then the bathroom door opened. The shirt was too big on her, not in a pretty, arranged way. It slid off one shoulder because she had not adjusted it. Her hair was down now, loose and bent from the knot. She had washed her face. Without makeup, without the careful hallway version of herself, Clara looked younger and more tired and somehow more real. She looked at me. I looked at the blanket. Survival instincts again. "The couch pulls out," I said. "It does?" "No, but I thought saying that might make me sound better prepared." She smiled. "I'm fine on the couch." "You say that now." "It's one night." One night is exactly long enough to develop a lifelong grudge against a cushion. I edit novels. I have suffered worse. Fair. She sat under the blanket while I turned off the kitchen light. The lamp remained on, soft, almost too soft. I stood near the switch. "Do you need anything else?" Clara looked up at me. The answer was yes. We both knew it. She said, "No." I nodded. "Good night, then." "Good night." I went to my room. I closed the door. I stood on the other side of it for longer than was necessary. My bedroom was cooler than the living room. I changed into shorts, brushed my teeth, took my hair down, tied it again, untied it. I checked my phone and found nothing that needed me. I lay in bed and listened. Not in a predatory way, in a human one. The building at night, the occasional shift of the couch, the tiny creak when Clara moved. Once I heard her exhale. Not a sigh exactly, more like someone trying to release tension without making a sound. I closed my eyes. I lasted 12 minutes, then I got up. When I came back into the living room, Clara was not asleep. She was sitting upright, blanket around her shoulders, staring toward the window. She turned when she heard me. "Sorry," she whispered. "For what?" Being awake loudly. "You're not." "I feel loud." I came closer. "Bad couch?" No, just... She looked at the dark window. My brain won't shut up. That makes two of us. She looked at me then, and the lamp caught her eyes in a way that made the whole room feel smaller. I sat at the other end of the couch, not close, not far, a careful distance. Clara pulled the blanket tighter around herself. Your apartment is different at night, she said. You've never seen it during the day. I've imagined. There was no way to make that innocent. She seemed to realize it too, because she looked away. I did not rescue her. Some silences deserve to do their job. After a moment, she said, "That sounded strange." It sounded honest. Worse. Usually. She laughed quietly. Then the laugh faded. I shouldn't have said anything. Why? Because now you know. I already knew part of it. Not all. No, I said, not all. She studied her own hands. I used to think you were intimidating. Used to? Still do, a little. That's disappointing. I was hoping my tea service had ruined the illusion. It made it worse. How? Because now you're intimidating and domestic. I smiled despite myself. That is a very niche criticism. It's not criticism. No? She shook her head. The blanket slipped a little from her shoulder. Neither of us moved to fix it. There was skin, not much, just the line of her collarbone and the shadow below it. But after midnight, in a room that had already told too many truths, even a shoulder can feel like a decision. Clara? Yes? If I sit closer, is that going to help your brain shut up or make it worse? She swallowed. Worse, she said. I nodded and stayed where I was. A flicker of surprise crossed her face, then something softer. Thank you. For not making it worse? For asking. I looked at her. I am not going to take advantage of you because your apartment betrayed you. I know. Good. But I'm not fragile. I didn't say you were. And I didn't knock because I needed saving. No. She looked at me fully now. I knocked because I wanted to know what would happen if I finally did. That landed low in the body, not as shock, as recognition. I had been photographed, desired, studied, touched, praised, misunderstood, and occasionally worshipped by women who saw whatever version of me they needed most. But there was something different about a neighbor, a woman who knew my groceries, a woman who had heard me drop keys, argue with delivery apps, sneeze 3 times in a row through the wall. A woman who had not met me in one of my rooms of performance, but in the shared inconvenience of a building where the elevator sometimes stopped between floors and the lobby smelled like rain in winter. Clara wanted me without the myth polished first. That was more intimate than being wanted beautifully. I leaned forward, elbows on my knees. What did you think would happen? I don't know. Try again. She looked annoyed by the gentleness of it. Good. I thought you would make a joke, she said. You did. Accurate. I thought you would let me in. Also accurate. I thought I would sit here for 10 minutes, charge my phone, act normal, and leave before I embarrassed myself. You made it past 10 minutes. Barely. And then? She looked toward the hallway, as if the answer might be hiding there. And then I thought maybe I'd be able to stop wondering. About? She gave me a look. I waited. Clara closed her eyes for a second. About whether you would look at me differently if we were alone. The apartment felt very quiet. I let the sentence stay in the air. Then I said, And do I? She opened her eyes. Yes. How? Like you're trying not to. I smiled faintly. Annoying woman. That's fair. I moved closer then, only a little. Enough that the space between us changed from polite to intentional. Clara's breath caught, but she did not move away. Still worse? I asked. Yes. Do you want me to move back? No. There it was. Plain, not poetic, better than poetic. I reached for the edge of the blanket where it had slipped from her shoulder. I did not pull it back up. I only touched the fabric. Use words with me, I said. Not because I don't understand the rest, because I do. Her eyes moved over my face. I want you to stay close. That's a start. Her mouth curved, nervous, and almost amused. You're demanding. I've been told. I want you to touch me. Where? The blush came back. This time she did not hide it. My hand, she said. So I took her hand, simple, almost innocent. Her fingers were cool at first, then warmer as she let them settle against mine. That was all. Hand in hand on a couch at midnight. No music, no dramatic rain hitting the window, no excuse left that wasn't embarrassing. Just Clara looking down at our joined hands as if they had confirmed something she had been afraid to believe. Okay? I asked. She nodded. Then, after a breath, yes. I traced my thumb once over her knuckles. She closed her eyes. That small reaction did more to me than it should have. I had been touched with hunger before, with confidence, with entitlement, with shyness, with performance. Clara reacted as if touch was not a step towards something else, but an event by itself. I wanted to ruin her carefully. That thought should have worried me. Instead, I let go of her hand. Her eyes opened, a brief flash of disappointment. Good. Not because I wanted to hurt her, because wanting has to be allowed to speak before it starts taking. Clara, I said, you can sleep here, drink my tea, steal my blanket, use my charger. Leave in the morning and make awkward jokes in the hallway for the next 6 months if that's what you need. I won't punish you for stopping here. I know. I'm serious. So am I. The room held. Then she said, I don't want to stop here. I looked at her mouth, then back at her eyes. Are you sure? No. I stayed still. She shook her head quickly, correcting herself. I mean, yes, I'm sure I want you. I'm not sure I won't be nervous or ridiculous or say something stupid. That's allowed. I'm not sure what happens tomorrow. Neither am I. That doesn't bother you? It bothers me a little. Her smile was small. Only a little? I'm trying to look cooler than I am. That made her laugh again, and the laugh undid the last thing keeping us apart. Not all at once. I moved first, slowly enough for her to change her mind. She didn't. When I kissed her, it was softer than the room had led me to expect. Clara did not melt dramatically. She went very still for half a second, as if her body needed time to understand that the thing she had imagined had become an actual mouth against hers. Then she kissed me back, not expertly, not badly. Carefully at first, then less carefully. Her hand found the sleeve of my shirt and held on, fingers curling there like she was afraid I might turn into an idea again if she didn't keep me close. I touched her jaw. She made a sound into the kiss, small, surprised by itself. I pulled back. She opened her eyes too slowly. "Okay?" I asked. She stared at me. That was a terrible question. Was it? I'm sitting in your apartment wearing your shirt after my electricity died, and you just kissed me like that. So, okay? She laughed, breathless. Yes, Dahlia. Okay. I kissed her again. This time she met me halfway. The blanket slipped between us. Her knee pressed against mine. My hand moved from her jaw to the side of her neck, feeling the quick, honest beat there. There are kisses that ask. There are kisses that answer. This one did both. Clara was warm now, no longer pretending to be cold. Her hand moved to my waist, hesitant until I covered it with mine and kept it there. The trust in that small surrender hit harder than urgency. I wanted to slow down. I wanted to hurry. I chose neither. I chose attention. I kissed the corner of her mouth, her cheek, the soft place below her ear. She tilted her head with a shaky laugh. That's unfair. What? You finding that immediately. I notice things. Yes, I've heard. From the building? From the women. I stopped. Clara froze. Not fear, regret. I'm sorry, she said. That sounded human? Jealous. A little. She looked ashamed. I leaned back enough to see her face. Do you want to talk about that? No. Good. I didn't either. A surprised laugh broke out of her, and I kissed it from her mouth. That was when the night changed again. Not into something rough, not into a scene, into a choice we kept making in smaller and smaller distances. Her hand under the loose hem of my shirt, stopping at my waist until I nodded. My fingers sliding through her hair, loosening what was left of the knot. Her whispering my name once, not to call me, just because it was the only word she seemed to have left. I said, "If we go to my room, you can still stop." I know. I need to hear you say it. She looked at me, breathing unevenly. I can stop whenever I want. Yes. And I don't want to. The way she said it was not bold. It was better. It was honest. I stood and offered her my hand. She took it. The walk to my bedroom was maybe 7 steps. It felt like crossing a country. My room was not prepared for seduction. There was a book open face down on the nightstand, a glass of water from the day before, a sweater thrown over a chair. The bed was unmade because I had been in it 12 minutes earlier, trying to be sensible. Clara looked at all of it, then at me. What? I asked. I like that it's normal. That may be the least flattering thing anyone has ever said in my bedroom. No, I mean, she smiled, embarrassed but not retreating. You always seem so composed outside, like you never leave laundry on chairs. I contain laundry. Clearly. I kissed her before she could become too comfortable teasing me. Her back met the edge of the bed. She sat. I stood between her knees. For a moment, we looked at each other and did nothing. That was the part I would remember most. Not the heat, not even the kiss, the pause, the quiet confirmation that neither of us had accidentally arrived here. Clara reached for my hand and placed it against her chest, over the borrowed shirt, where her heart was beating fast enough to make me ache. I'm nervous, she said. I know. Not because I don't want this. I know. Because I do. I bent and kissed her forehead. That was not a move I planned. It just happened. Her eyes closed. Something in her face softened so much it changed mine. "Come here," I said. She did. The rest of the night did not unfold like a fantasy. It unfolded like two women learning each other without pretending not to be clumsy sometimes. Clara laughed when her elbow hit the nightstand. I cursed when the lamp switch refused to work on the first try. She admitted she hated being watched too closely, then blushed when I told her I had no intention of looking away. She asked if she could touch me there. I said yes. I asked if she liked that. She said yes, then said it again when I told her once was not enough. There was nothing polished about it. That made it better. The city moved outside the window without us. A car passed. Someone came home late and dropped keys in the hall. The building creaked. Next door, Clara's apartment stayed dark and useless. In mine, the lamp remained on until neither of us wanted that much light anymore. Later, she lay beside me with her face turned toward the window and my sheet pulled to her chin. Her hair was everywhere, one shoulder bare, one foot cold against my calf. I should have been tired. I was not. She touched the inside of my wrist with 2 fingers, very lightly, as if checking that I was still real. "Don't make a joke," she said. I wasn't going to. "You were thinking one." I was thinking 3. She smiled without looking at me. Then the smile faded. "There's the morning," she said. "Yes. It's very inconvenient. Historically." She turned her head. "Do you regret it?" "No." The answer came so quickly that it surprised both of us. She studied me. "You don't do that, do you?" "What?" "Answer before you protect yourself?" I looked at the ceiling. "No." "Why did you?" Because she was in my bed and still looked like she expected the night to be taken away from her. Because I had spent too much of my life turning feeling into composition. Because she had knocked on my door with a dead phone and a toothbrush and a lie so thin it was almost tender. "Because you asked me something simple," I said. She accepted that. Maybe because it was partly true. "I don't regret it either," she said. "Good. I might be strange in the hallway." "You were already strange in the hallway." "Rude, accurate." She turned onto her side, facing me now. "I don't know how to do this part." "What part?" "The part where I don't ruin a perfectly nice building arrangement by wanting the woman next door." I don't think the building arrangement was the most alive thing in this situation. She laughed quietly. Then she became serious again. "I mean it." "So do I." I turned on my side too. We were close enough that the sheet barely existed as a boundary. "We don't have to decide everything tonight," I said. "I know. But tomorrow you don't pretend this was only a blackout." Her eyes moved over mine. "I won't. And I don't become your emergency contact only after dark." She smiled then, but it trembled. "No. I am serious, Clara." "I know." "Good." She leaned forward and kissed me once. Not hungry now. Not shy either. A small, sober kiss. A promise with bad timing. Then she tucked herself closer, her head near my shoulder. For a while, neither of us spoke. I thought she'd fallen asleep until she whispered, "I almost knocked 2 weeks ago." I opened my eyes. "When?" "You came home late. You were carrying flowers." I remembered the flowers. They had been for the apartment, not a person. White tulips because the market was closing, and the man had looked so offended by their unsold existence that I bought them out of guilt. "I thought someone gave them to you," she said. "Were you jealous of tulips?" "A little." "That's humiliating for you." "I know." I smiled into her hair. Why didn't you knock? Because I didn't have an excuse. And tonight? My kitchen invented one. Useful kitchen. Terrible wiring, excellent emotional timing. I laughed softly. She relaxed against me. That was how we slept. Not dramatically tangled, not like lovers in a painting. More like people who had finally stopped holding themselves apart and didn't yet know how to take up the same space gracefully. Morning arrived too early. It came gray-blue at first, then pale, with the sound of a scooter below and someone upstairs dragging a chair across the floor like an accusation. Clara woke before I did. I felt her move. Not away, just awake. When I opened my eyes, she was lying on her back, staring at the ceiling with the severe concentration of a woman attending a trial. "Good morning," I said. She turned her head. Her expression softened immediately, which did unreasonable things to me. "Good morning. You look like you're negotiating with God." "I'm trying to decide how normal to be." "Ambitious?" "I have options." "Name one." "Make coffee?" "That's not normal. That's useful." "Leave gracefully." "Rejected." She smiled. Then her phone buzzed from the living room. We both looked toward the door. Reality, apparently, had charged to full battery. Clara sat up, pulling the sheet with her. "My phone." "Probably the landlord." "Probably." Neither of us moved. Then she laughed under her breath. "I should check." "You should." She did not. Instead, she looked back at me. In morning light, without the lamp's kindness, without night giving every feeling a private room, she looked more exposed. Not less beautiful, just less protected by shadows. I touched her wrist. "Still here?" She looked at my hand. "Yes." The answer was quiet. It did more for me than any dramatic confession would have. We got up eventually. Clara wore my shirt back into the living room and pretended not to be aware of what that did to me. Her phone had 3 messages. One from the landlord, one from the electrician, one from a colleague asking if she had finished reading chapter 12, which made her groan with such ordinary despair that I almost laughed. "The breaker is fixed," she said, reading. "Electrician says one socket in the kitchen is dead, and I should not use the kettle and heater together unless I want to join my ancestors." Reasonable. So technically, I can go home. I poured coffee into 2 cups. Technically. She looked at the door, then at me. "I should get dressed." "You should." She made no movement toward the bathroom. I leaned back against the counter. "Clara?" "Yes?" "You are very bad at leaving." "I'm usually excellent." "Not today." "No." The coffee machine clicked. The apartment smelled like morning now. Coffee, warm cotton, the slight dustiness of the radiator. Clara crossed the room slowly and stopped in front of me. No borrowed courage this time. No dead phone. No emergency. Just her. "I don't want to disappear into next door and then wave at you by the mailboxes like nothing happened," she said. "Good. I also don't want to become another dramatic story in your life." I handed her a cup. "Too late." She took it and gave me a look. "I mean it." "So do I." Her thumb moved over the handle of the cup. "I want to see you again. You live next door." "Dahlia?" I smiled. "Yes," I said. "I want to see you again, too." The relief was quick and unguarded. Then she tried to hide it by drinking coffee too soon and burning her tongue. I laughed. She glared. "This is not funny." "It's a little funny." "I'm injured." "Barely." You're very cold for a woman who just seduced a refugee from an electrical disaster. You knocked. My lights went out. You packed a toothbrush. She opened her mouth, closed it, pointed at me. Fine. We stood there smiling like idiots, not cinematic idiots, not tragic ones. Just two adults in a kitchen at 8 a.m, both old enough to know desire was never the difficult part. The difficult part was everything after it. She went to get dressed. I changed the sheets because I needed to do something with my hands, and because I am, despite rumors, occasionally civilized. When she came out of the bathroom in her own clothes, the night rearranged itself again. The cardigan, the tote bag, the phone, the return of the neighbor, except not quite. She stood by the door, fingers on the strap of the bag. So, she said. So. I'll go check that my fridge hasn't become a crime scene. Text me if you need help identifying victims. I will. She opened the door. The hallway looked exactly the same as it had the night before. Same bad light, same old floor, same row of doors pretending not to know anyone's business. Clara stepped out, then turned back. For one terrible second, I thought she would say something careful, something sensible, something that would make the night smaller. Instead, she said, "I'm making pasta tonight." I looked at her. "Are you?" "Yes." Bold after the electricity incident. "It's on the stove, not a socket." Good distinction. She shifted the tote on her shoulder. "You could come over." "To inspect the wiring?" "To eat." I let the silence stretch just enough to watch her almost regret asking. Then I said, "What time?" Her smile arrived slowly. 8? "I'll bring wine." "My fridge may not deserve wine yet." "You do." That caught her. It caught me too, a little. Clara nodded once, softer now. 8 then. 8. She went next door. I watched her unlock 3B and disappear inside. Then I closed my own door. For a few minutes, I stood there in the quiet. My apartment was mine again, but not in the same way. The mug she had used was still on the counter. The blanket was folded badly on the couch. The phone charger had been pulled slightly crooked from the wall. Nothing dramatic, nothing ruined. Only evidence. I walked to the window and opened it. The city was already awake, impatient and ordinary. Someone shouted down below. A delivery truck reversed with an obnoxious beep. A woman on a balcony across the street shook out a tablecloth with the seriousness of a ritual. Next door, through the wall, I heard Clara drop something. Then faintly, "Damn it." I laughed before I could stop myself. The wall was thin. It always had been. I wondered how many small pieces of each other we had been collecting without permission. Her radio on Sundays, my spoon in the sink, her laugh through the plaster, my lamp at night, the terrible elevator, the hallway light, 100 almosts disguised as neighborly coincidence. At 7:52 that evening, I stood outside her door with a bottle of red wine in one hand and the unreasonable feeling that I was about to knock on my own future. Ridiculous. I hated that sentence the moment I thought it. Still, my hand hesitated. Then the door opened before I touched it. Clara stood there in jeans and a dark green sweater, hair down, cheeks flushed from cooking or nerves. Behind her, the apartment was warm and alive again. Lights on, kitchen working, a pan on the stove, a small table set for 2. "You're early," she said. "You opened before I knocked." "I heard you." "How?" She pointed vaguely toward the wall. Thin building. Convenient. Occasionally. She stepped aside. I entered her apartment for the first time. It smelled like garlic, basil, and books. There were books everywhere, stacked on the table, on the windowsill, on the floor beside the couch, a lamp with a crooked shade, a bowl of lemons, a chair with sweaters on it. Her space was softer than mine, more cluttered, less controlled. The kind of apartment a woman made when she thought no one was studying it. I studied it. Of course I did. Clara took the wine from me and watched my face. "What?" she asked. "You live like someone who trusts objects not to betray her." "That's not true. The kettle betrayed me yesterday." "Fair." She smiled and went to the kitchen. Dinner was good. Too good, actually, which annoyed me because I had planned to be charming and unbothered, and it is hard to be unbothered by a woman who can cook properly while looking like she is trying not to check whether you like her. We talked. At first about nothing dangerous, her work, a terrible novel she was editing, my downstairs neighbor who had once accused me of stealing her basil plant, even though the plant was very clearly dead before I entered the story. Then, because adulthood has a way of arriving uninvited, Clara put down her fork. "I don't want to rush into something just because last night was..." She stopped. I waited. "Last night," she finished. "Very precise." She gave me a tired look. "I mean it. I know. I like you." "Good." She rolled her eyes, but she was smiling. "I'm trying to be serious." "I know that too." "I don't want to be one of those people who confuses proximity with intimacy." I leaned back. That is the most editor sentence anyone has ever said to me. "Dahlia." "Sorry." "No, you're not." "No." Then I softened because she deserved that. "I don't think that's what this is." "No?" "No." "How do you know?" "Because proximity is passive. This wasn't." She held my eyes. "You knocked," I said. "I let you in. You told me the truth badly. I asked for it better. We both had chances to stop." Her shoulders eased a little. "Also," I added, "you invited me to dinner with working electricity. That feels like continuity." A smile pulled at her mouth. "Continuity. Yes. Sexy. I'm known for it." She laughed. After dinner, we washed dishes side by side. It was dangerously domestic. There is a particular intimacy in handing someone a wet plate and watching them dry it like this is already an arrangement. I did not trust it. I also did not want to leave. Clara bumped my hip with hers. "Move. You invited me. You're blocking the drawer. Again, you invited me." She reached around me for the towel. I could have moved. I did not. Her arm brushed mine. Her shoulder touched my chest. She smelled like soap and basil and the faintest trace of my own shampoo from the night before. She froze. I looked down at her. "Drawer?" I asked. She turned her head. "Too close." "Yes," she said. "Very important drawer. Crucial." Neither of us moved. Then she set the towel down and kissed me. Not like the night before, not uncertain, not asking the universe for permission. She kissed me in her kitchen with the lights on and the electricity working, and no emergency left to hide behind. I liked that kiss best. Maybe because it was less dramatic. Maybe because it happened on an ordinary floor, between ordinary cabinets, with ordinary dishes in the sink. Maybe because Clara chose me without needing the dark. When she pulled back, she looked scared again. but not enough to retreat. "Still continuity?" she asked. I touched her cheek. "Promising development." She laughed against my mouth when I kissed her again. Later, when I went back to my apartment, it was past midnight. Clara walked me to the door even though it was 6 steps away. In the hallway, under the same bad light where she had stood the night before, with a dead phone and a nervous mouth, she took my hand. "I'll see you tomorrow?" she asked. "You live next door." She squeezed my fingers. "Dahlia." "Yes," I said. "Tomorrow." She nodded. I went into 3A. She went into 3B. For once, the wall between us did not feel like distance. It felt like a promise with plumbing issues. I slept badly, not because I was worried, because I was awake in a way I had not expected to be. The next morning, there was a paper bag hanging from my door handle. Inside, 2 cornetti, one slightly crushed, and a note written in neat black ink. For the woman with the charger, and the guest blanket, and the unreasonable mouth. C. I stood in the hallway, barefoot, holding the bag, smiling like an absolute fool. Across the hall, Clara's door opened just enough for one eye to appear. "Did you read it?" she asked. "Yes." "Too much?" "Terrible." The door opened wider. She was in an old sweatshirt, hair loose, face half asleep. Terrible how? Terribly effective. Her smile came before she could stop it. "Good." "Come here," I said. She looked up and down the empty hallway. Then she crossed it. No power outage, no excuse, no darkness. Just Clara, warm and real, stepping into my space because she wanted to. 11:11, the night my neighbor's power went out. I kissed her there, in the hallway, with the bad light humming above us and the old building pretending not to listen. And for once, I did not think about how a moment would look from the outside. I only felt her hand on my waist, her mouth smiling against mine, the quiet click of my door opening behind us, and the strange, simple relief of being wanted at home.